So, 40 years since the Donkey Kong arcade game was released. That's a long time. Nintendo, a company who was making cards and toys, decided to shift their focus to the arcade market. While costs have increased in manufacturing toys, Space Invaders was emptying people's wallets. Since Nintendo had some experience in the market with the Wild Gunman and the laser clay shooting system, they had no problem making games like Chef, Space Fever, and eventually Radarscope, which had moderate success in Japan. Unfortunately, they had trouble maintaining interest in the game over in North America, since it took 4 months for the arcade cabinets to travel to New York by boat. And as for the 3,000 units they predicted to be delivered, only 1/3 of them were sold, and even then, they didn't bring much. This led Nintendo into a financial crisis with 2,000 unsold units in their warehouse. This is usually how most companies end, like you never see them come back after a financial crisis. But the story has only begun. Nintendo's then president Hiroshi Yamauchi decided to simply convert the unused cabinets into a new game as a last-minute and low-budget attempt. He tasked young Shigeru Miyamoto, who just finished helping with the programming on Radarscope, to create the new game while Nintendo's head engineer, Gunpei Yokoi, supervised. This led to what we now know and worship as Donkey Kong. Though it was originally going to be a Popeye game, but that didn't happen in the end. It initially sold 2,000 units, then 4,000 per month by October, and then by late June, it sold 60,000 and has earned $180 million. And the numbers just kept growing and growing, soon making Donkey Kong and Nintendo a name. Nintendo kept making money, it has serials, board games, ports, sequels, it was winning awards, there was a song, Universal's tried to sue Nintendo for copying off of King Kong, and of course, spawned the main character for the amazing series. So, time to look at all of the Donkey Kong games before Super Mario Bros., not counting the Game & Watch games. Sorry guys. The story of this game follows an ape called Donkey Kong, kidnapping a lady who was later known as Pauline, and climbing to the top of a construction site. Her boyfriend, a carpenter named Jumpman, or Mario in future games, follows in pursuit of the mad monkey, ape, and attempts to rescue his girlfriend. This was the first game to have any kind of story. Not much of a story, but it's a story nonetheless. The goal of the game is to climb to the top. To do this, you will have to climb ladders and jump over, or simply avoid, obstacles that Donkey Kong throws at you. This range from bells and springs to sentient fires and... bowl porridge? No, wait, there's cement. Okay, gotcha. This won't be easy though, especially with Jumpman's controls. Just like many early games, you have no mid-air movement, so you better look before you leap, cause otherwise, you might jump into a barrel. And then there's falling damage. Yes, this game has falling damage, and believe it or not, it's worse than Bubsy. This is the height he dies at. Yes, he can't fall onto anything lower than where he was. Or, jump down height is equal to 2 levels of framework. Wow, those were parts of the instructions? There's also the hammer power-up that destroys anything it touches for a short time. The only problem is that you can't jump or climb ladders, so you're pretty much stuck. Still a bit satisfying. The game is divided into 4 levels. The first one just has barrels that Donkey Kong throws at you with fire that chases you from behind. It's the most simplest of levels. Just climb to the top. The second one has those vomit bowls on a conveyor belt. The third one has these elevators and this bouncing spring that seems impossible at first, but once you know what to do, it's not too bad. The fourth level has you walking over these tinamabobs while avoiding the fires. Once you've walked over all of them, Donkey Kong is defeated, you save your lady, and the game repeats itself with a new pattern. Despite its flaws, I find this game really addicting. Personally even better than Pac-Man. During the development of Donkey Kong, Shigeru and his team came up with several levels and ideas that couldn't make it into their game for various reasons. Eventually, these ideas evolved, and one team member even suggested making them into another game. Around the same time, Donkey Kong was doing extremely well, and Nintendo wanted to capitalize on it with a sequel. Initially, Shigeru wanted the game to star Donkey Kong himself as the playable character, but it was later scrapped since he was too big for Smash Bros. I mean, he was too big to move about on the screen. So it was decided to create a small version of Donkey Kong, and thus, Donkey Kong Jr. was released a year after the first game. The story follows the events of the first game, with Donkey Kong captured by Mario. Yeah, the protagonist of Donkey Kong is now the antagonist of this game. Shout the Hedgehog anyone? So you, as Donkey Kong's son, Donkey Kong Jr., must reach to the top and save his dad. The gameplay is a bit similar to the first game. As I've said, you must get to the top of the stage to where the key is and move on to the next screen. To do this, you must climb up vines, jump across platforms, and over enemies. If you take these out of context, this is basically the first game all over again. And at its core, it is. However, rather than jumping being the focus, it's climbing. This alone, along with the new level ideas, makes the whole game feel fresh. Junior plays exactly how Mario did, right down to the jump down height is equal to 2 levels of framework. The only difference is the way he climbs. I especially like how if he hangs onto one vine, he slides down faster but he's slower at climbing. But that's reversed when he hangs onto 2 vines. That's a nice touch. Oh, and touching the fruits make them fall and destroys any enemies in its path. Nearly forgot about them. Like the other game, there are 4 levels. The first one has you climbing vines to get to the top while avoiding these, trap thingies. The second one has you jumping from platform to platform till you get to the vines where Mario sends these birds that occasionally poop. The third one has a mix of both vines, if you could call them that, and platforming while trying to jump over these sparks. And the last one has Junior trying to move these keys to the very top to free Donkey Kong while avoiding these birds that zigzag across the screen. Once Donkey Kong is freed, it's time to start the game all over again with a higher difficulty. This game didn't sell as well as the original because, let's face it, it's Donkey Kong. It was gonna be hard to top anyway. But it did good enough to be called a worthy sequel, and I agree. While not as good as the first one, it's still pretty fun. A year after Donkey Kong Jr., Donkey Kong 3 was released, and that's all the history you're guessing. The game follows Donkey Kong inside the greenhouse of Stanley the Bugman, and it's now your job as Stanley to get him away from those plants. Yeah, Stanley. Why him? Who knows? I guess Nintendo really wanted to capitalize on the popularity of the space shooters, so... yeah! The goal of the game is to shoot Donkey Kong to the top of the screen using your bug spray, because... once you do so, you'll move on to the next screen, and at the second or third screen, he'll head straight for the beehive, and it's time to repeat the game again. While you're doing that, you'll be swarmed by bugs of many kind. Some giving Donkey Kong the plants to eat, and others just wanting you dead. Holy crap, they just ate him! And that's all there is to this game. There's this power-up which makes the whole thing a lot easier, and these worms that stop moving once you shoot them and keeps getting in the way. Why don't you just leave me alone? But other than that, what you see is what you get. Unlike Junior, this game sold fairly poorly, though part of that was probably due to the video game crash of '83. On its own, it's alright, but as a Donkey Kong game, yeah, no, sorry, I just find it weird. A couple of months into the NES life, Nintendo decided to try and make an educational game, so they came up with Donkey Kong Jr. Mats. And before I go any further, yeah, the game didn't do too well. Obviously, the game tries to teach you maths through 3 modes. The first one, called Calculate A, involves you splitting across the vines, picking numbers and math signs to eventually add up to wherever Donkey Kong is holding. This, however, is a 2-player competition only mode. Player 1 controls DK Jr., while player 2 controls, I guess, DK Jr.'s ghost. The first player to reach said number gets a point. That's it. Calculate B is basically the same but at a higher difficulty. This wouldn't be so bad if you could just actually pick 2 numbers to make a 2-digit number. Or maybe I just suck, who knows. And the third mode is practice, where you, practice some math stuff. That's pretty much it. For what they were trying to do, it's alright. But again, it's an educational game, it was doomed to fail from the start. Around August of 1984, a sequel to Donkey Kong 3, sort of, was released to various Japanese computers called Donkey Kong 3 Daigatsu, which roughly translates to Donkey Kong 3 Great Counter-Strike. This time, it was made by Hudson Soft. The game is mostly the same, except you're always at the bottom of the screen instead of having platforms to jump on. Also, you need to be dead center when spraying up Donkey Kong's Donkey Kong now. Whoop-de-doo. Really, the only other differences, apart from what's playing it, is the backgrounds that change when you complete a level. Instead of taking place in a greenhouse, Donkey Kong is on a balloon and you battle out with him from a highway to a bridge, a country road, aliens? We're dealing with aliens now? If you ask me, that sounds a bit sus. And now we're in a UFO? What? And we're still fighting? I think that's enough for me. But yeah, that was all the Donkey Kong games before Super Mario Bros. Hit the scene. And while not all of them were big hits, I spent 60 euros on a maths game. They were fun enough, especially the first game and how important it was from saving a nearly bankrupt company to spawning 2 great sequels. And yes, I'm still Monkey. I'm not doing so hard, guys. I need Mario games! Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. I really hope you've enjoyed this one. Sorry this one took a little bit while. I gotta be honest, I got a bit distracted. But, again, I hope you've enjoyed. If you want more videos like this, please tell me. I really enjoy making those type of videos. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the rest of the videos. Hope you enjoyed my next video. Not too sure what else to say, so like, comment, subscribe, Patreon if you want to, Twitter. I'm still Monkey, bye.